Angry guy here, and women have forever destroyed the trust with men. So women have forever destroyed the trust with men. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
What's going on is Anton from Anton Daniels. When I see something happen to men or to women, I'm going to hold whoever the culprits are accountable for it, right? And so the same way that guys call into my show and they say, well, Anton, I did this and I did that and she did me wrong. Well, I need to deep dive into understanding what you did in order to put her in a position to be accused of something, and then I get to the root cause of it. And it doesn't mean that she's innocent, but it does mean that we need to be accountable for our actions. And based off of the evidence that I've seen played out, especially with regard to this whole Jonathan Majors case and how he was absolutely villainized, and that ain't even the worst part about it, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But when I seen how he was villainized, it was unfortunate. It's absolutely unfortunate. And so what you basically seen was a man that chose wrong. So we gonna hold him accountable for that. Because the same way that we say that women shouldn't choose the men that they be with is the same way that we should have been holding him accountable, and that he should have never been with her in the first place, right? This place is so beautiful. I love the city of Detroit, but he should have never been with her in the first place, right? But he was with her, and because he was with her, what happened was he was with somebody that was recording him the entire time and did not have his best interests at heart, right? And so she had recordings of him the entire time that they had been together. And those recordings were released. And when they released the recordings, it wasn't even of nothing that he said that was really wrong. It was really all of him just basically setting the standard and standing on his square and saying, listen, I need somebody that's really gonna be down for me, not somebody that's gonna take advantage of me. And he stood on that. He was just basically like, yo, if you ain't with me, if you ain't rolling with me, then you against me. I need a woman like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama and all of that, which, again, I don't know what kind of delusional pill that he was taking, but he still should not have been held responsible for what was done to him. We can hold Jonathan Majors, and men by default, and this is one of the reasons why we don't have a whole lot of conversations about men. Men by default are held accountable by society.
Facts.
100%. By default, they're held accountable by society. And we've seen that, even though I don't believe that he did anything wrong, we've seen that play out with what happened as far as the verdict. Now he's facing a year in jail, but that ain't even the worst part about it. You know what the worst part about the whole situation is? You know what the worst part about the whole situation is? Let me get out of the wind. Let me see if I can get out of the wind. Nope, can't get out of the wind. The worst part about the whole situation is, because I don't want the wind to continue to, impede on the conversation that we have. And the worst part about the conversation is that he lost everything. Marvel dropped him, held him accountable. Agents dropped him, held him accountable. People turned against him, held him accountable. And nobody is going to hold the woman accountable. As a matter of fact, what we seen happen with Amber Heard, even though Johnny Depp proved that she was actually against him and he was sleeping with the enemy, is that we seen her in the previews in the upcoming movie of Aquaman 2. Nobody is going to hold the people accountable that's doing the things to you. They're only going to hold men accountable. And this is why, see, it's not about whether or not men are really men or any of that other type of stuff anymore. That's not the conversation that we really have. That's not what it is. You know what it's really about? It's about the fact that the disparity and the opportunities against men are so huge. The gaps between what it is that you can defend yourself from and be accused of and what you got on the line and what you losing is so huge that it's no longer worth it for you to even be able to make yourself available to women that don't have your best interest at heart. Listen, I'm not saying that there's not good women out there. The same way that women that complain about certain men, you can't say that there ain't any good men out there. But what I am saying is it important for us to have a conversation knowing that we're not going to put the genie back in the bottle? You're not going to get rid of feminism. You're not going convince people to do things that's in their own best interest based off of not breaking up their families and stuff like that. So now, do we pivot? And is it important for us to have the conversation about, is it even worth it to take women seriously or to consider being in a relationship in the first place? Because
See, guys, here's the thing. I talked about this. I made a video regarding this many years ago, and I called it Men Leaving the West. And I predicted that men would completely walk away from Western society. They would completely walk away from relationships in Western society. They'd focus on themselves, their own happiness, their relationship with God. If they want a woman, they would go overseas to find a woman. I talked about this many years ago. I found the audio. I said that men would leave the West because they would no longer tolerate Western society. Western society would become such an abominable place for men, and men would have to completely walk away. And this is what we are now witnessing in society. If you listen to what this guy said, there's no more trust between men and women. And this cannot exist. No relationships can exist between men and women if there is no trust in society. Everyone looks at what happens to Jonathan Major, and he did something very impressive. He did something very, very important. He did not make it about race. He had no way and no time did he make it about race. And that was such an important thing because by doing that, everyone could relate to this now. Every man could relate to this now. The videos are the recordings of him speaking to Grace Jabari and saying to her that she will not come into their house because they were living together. She will not come into their house intoxicated, falling over, and bringing that type of energy and disrupting the peace of their home. He was absolutely right. This man doesn't want the police on his doorstep. He doesn't want NYPD on his doorstep. This is not the way that someone should be carrying themselves. This is not the way, this is not a relationship that someone should be in. Or you have a partner that is doing these types of things. Now, don't get me wrong, it's very easy today for men to just get up and walk away. And a lot of dudes are saying that he should never have been in a relationship with her in the first place. That speaks of the toxicness from that he was receiving from her, not of his own toxicness. He talked about Coretta Scott King. He talked about Michelle Obama. A lot of people say that he's delusional for that, but these are people that he respected, regardless of whether or not you like Michelle Obama, regardless of whether or not you like Coretta Scott King. There's something very important to say about these women. You don't see these women out there acting like 304s. You don't hear stories of these women acting like 304s. Even if they did some stuff back in the day, they kept that stuff on lock. They carried themselves in a way that's different compared to modern day women. I am not a fan of Michelle Obama, but at the same time, none of it can really say that Michelle Obama has ever acted like any of the modern day women we have today with these terrible Instagrams, you know, with these foolish poses and all this other nonsense. And this is a person who's famous. She loves being in front of the camera. She loves being popular, but she does it in a different way. She'll appear on Ellen and do a silly dance back when Ellen was still around. I miss Ellen, but Jennifer Hudson has taken over and she's doing great work. I think it's excellent what she's doing there, but that's another subject. But regardless, you didn't see Michelle Obama ever dressing in a scantily clad way, trying to show off her body. And it's this guy, he's illustrating that this young woman, she needs to carry herself in a better position. This guy was about to take over the MCU. I mean, he was going to be as big or maybe bigger than Thanos. When I say bigger than Thanos, maybe he would never reach the popularity of Thanos, but his presence in the MCU would have been much larger than Thanos. I mean, there was going to be an entire saga based around him. And the intriguing thing about his character, Kang, is that there are many different versions of him. And these different versions have different personalities, which is really intriguing. It's so unfortunate. Evidently, he did a good job play. I did not see his performance in the last Ant-Man film because who watches Ant-Man? But I heard he appeared in Loki as well, and evidently, from what I understand, he did a pretty good job in the role of Kang. And this is extremely unfortunate what has happened because he was about to take over the MCU. His presence in the MCU would have been just as large as potentially Iron Man, as Tony Stark's presence was. Would it have been as beloved? Maybe not. But he was about to take over the entirety of the MCU. He was going to become one of the largest faces of Disney. It was absolutely insane. After that, I mean, his career would only just skyrocket from there, and the amount of money that he would have earned could have been extremely substantial. They had likely signed him for many different deals, but he probably would have negotiated based on how much money they brought in. So if the Kang series, did very well, he would possibly have renegotiated his contract and gotten more. But this guy was a guy that was headed to making maybe $100 million, and after that, after the Kang saga, he basically would have been a major deal in Hollywood. His face would have been everywhere, and he would have A-list power. Now what's happened? His career is ruined. He has lost everything, and he was essentially the victim in the situation. But men can never be victims when you're dealing with a woman. When you're dealing with a woman, the woman is always the victim, even if she's wrong. And that's how it is because women have a capitalization on victimhood. This is only going to result in men walking away from Western society as a whole and staying away from Western society, not having relationships in Western society anymore, because that's where it's ultimately going to lead to complete loss of everything. Women in Western society have forever destroyed the trust with men. We are now in Me Too Part 2. And guys, like I said, it's extortion. It is 100% extortion. They're going for everyone. They're coming after everyone. They're going after the janitor. They're going after the gas station attendant. They're going after friends and family. They're going after everyone. No one isn't going to catch it. Everyone is going to catch it, and they're going to use the argument, why can't men just be decent people? Why can't men just be good, decent people? Guys, it's not going to work. All it's going to do is push men further outside of Western society. You're only going to watch the password bros growing larger and larger and larger. And the moment someone figures this thing out with a gym for men, because evidently you can have private clubs that are technically gyms, but they are private clubs, so they're invitation only. The moment someone figures this out, and they can do it on a large scale basis, where you have a gym for men that's masquerading as a private club, and the feminists can't shut it down, it's going to be big. It's going to be big. Men will flock there in droves, and it's only going to grow from there. It's only going to become more serious from there, because men are going to want men only restaurants. Men are going to want men only spaces where men can go work out, relax, not have problems. Men only bookstores. It's gonna be literally guys separating themselves away from what they deem as a risk to their sanity as well as their well-being. And if you look at the statistics right now, modern women, their lifespan has decreased more so than any of the previous generations of women. Like we're going back to almost the 1800s at this point, where when you compare the loss of lifespan for millennial and Gen Z. They are living in increased states of destitution, which I told you they would. Their mental, financial, physical well-being has deteriorated substantially. It's collapsing rapidly. It's collapsed massively since the events of 2020, and there's no sign of slowdown. And these are going to be just some of the consequences for for what women have done in society. A lot of women are going to say, don't blame us, this is not our fault, don't talk about us as a group, talk about the individuals who have done this. And when in reality, it's how modern day women are as a whole. By the way, guys, I'm on my new MacBook. I purchased an M1. It's a 16 gigabytes. The thing is powerful. And I want to know what you guys think about the quality of it. If the audio sounds better now, if the video is playing better now. It looks amazing to me. Everything seems to be streaming very, very well. So I want to know your thought because I'm on a wired Ethernet, and this thing is super powerful. So let me know if you notice an improvement in the visual quality, and let me know what you think if this is what you want me to continue doing. Well, I mean, there's no choice in the matter. This is my new setup. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about everything we discuss here. Do you agree that women have forever destroyed the trust, the relationship with men? I want to know your thoughts regarding this. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA men walking away and cheers.